welcome back to Physiology. And in today's video lesson, we shall be doing a quick revision on the topic called carbohydrates. So without wasting time, let's get started. Now the first point you need to know for carbohydrates is that they are both biomolecules and macromolecules. They are biomolecules in the sense that they are what? Found in the body of living organisms. Because they are found in the body of living organisms, we therefore call them biomolecules. Living organism could be plant or animal. So you have carbohydrates in both plants and what? Animal. And next point is that they are also called what? Macromolecules. They are what? Large size. They are what? Large size. That's why they are called macromolecules. Now moving on from there, the general formula for carbohydrates is C subscript S bracket H2O subscript Y, where X and Y can be what? Any number. Now observe that the ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is 2:1. You have H subscript 2, O subscript 1. So it's 2:1. That is for what? Carbohydrates. Important to take note of this fact. Now moving on from there, carbohydrates that contain the aldehyde functional groups are called haldose. Carbohydrates that contain the ketone functional group are called what? Ketose. So while glucose is an aldose, fructose is a what? A ketose. Note those differences. Now moving on from there, carbohydrates are generally divided into two. You have the simple carbohydrates and then you have the complex carbohydrates. The simple are of two. You have the mono and the disaccharide. While the complex carbohydrates is what? Polysaccharide. Now polysaccharide can be divided into two. You have structural polysaccharide and then you have what? Storage polysaccharide. Example of structural polysaccharide. Here you have cellulose and here you have what? Chitin. Now example of storage polysaccharide. Here you have starch and here you have what? Glucose. So now we know this. We quickly do a quick revision on what? Monosaccharide. Now a monosaccharide that contains 3 carbon atoms is called a triose. A monosaccharide that contains 4 carbon atoms because it's called a what? A tetrose. While a monosaccharide that contains 5 carbon atoms is called a what? A pentose. Example of pentose, you have ribose and deoxyribose. And as you all know, ribose is found in RNA, while deoxyribose is found in what? DNA. So moving on from there, a monosaccharide that contains 6 carbon atoms is called an hexose. An example of hexose sugar, you have glucose, fructose, and what? Galactose. Now moving from there, we'll be talking about disaccharide in a jiffy. Now for disaccharide, you have maltose, you have sucrose, and you have lactose. Now, maltose is formed from 2 monosaccharides. 2 monosaccharides will come together to form 1 disaccharide. So when glucose and glucose come together, what is formed is called maltose. But when glucose and fructose come together, what is formed is called sucrose. Now when glucose and galactose come together, what is formed is called what? Lactose. Now take note, while glucose is called blood sugar, fructose is called fruit sugar, and galactose is called what? Milk sugar. I hope that is taken note of. Now we know this. Let's quickly look at what? Carbohydrate metabolism. The different pathways by which what carbohydrate is metabolized in the body. Let's get out to that now. Alright guys, back now we shall be talking about carbohydrate metabolism. We're talking about the different pathways by which carbohydrate is being what? Metabolized in the body. The first one is called glycolysis, and this is simply the breaking down of glucose into what? Pyruvate. Take note of that. The next one is called glycogenesis. This is the conversion of glucose into what? Glycogen. The next one is called glycogenolysis, and this is the what? Breaking down of glycogen to form what? Glucose. And lastly, we'll be talking about glyconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis. This is the conversion of non-carbohydrate materials into what? Glucose. An example of such non-carbohydrate materials are amino acid and glycerol. And as we all know, amino acid is gotten from what? Proteins. Are protein carbohydrates? No. Glycerol is gotten from the breakdown of lipids. Are lipid carbohydrates? No. So this process is the pathway by which non-carbohydrate substances are being converted into what? Glucose. Now we know the different metabolic pathway for carbohydrates. Let's look at food tests for what? Carbohydrates. What are the different tests for what? Finding if a certain substance contains what? Carbohydrate. There are 3 essential food tests for carbohydrates. You have the Fellings test, you have the Benedict test, and lastly you have the Tonys test. Now, at the end of a Fellings test, when the test is done with, the color that results is a brick red precipitate. The formation of a brick red precipitate. It will show that what? That substance contains what? Carbohydrate. Now the next test is called Benedict test. At the end of Benedict test, the precipitate that is formed is a brick red precipitate. Same as that for what? Fellings test. And lastly, the last test is called Tonys test, also called the Sievert mirror test. Why? Because at the end of Tonys test, the color carbohydrates helpful. Do well to share my video with your friends. Thanks for watching. I remain Fizademi. See you in my next video.